If someone gave you 1 out of 10 chance that you press this button and you die, would you press that button? No. What if the button says you press this button and Western civilization collapses? That's the button the American voters pushed, apparently. The fact that I can lay out this, like, post-apocalyptic scenario that sounds like the plot of a movie, and it's not that outlandish, should be cause for concern. Let me paint a picture for you, and I want you guys to tell me, am I, like, overreacting? Am I making something up that's not plausible? So here's where we're at right now. A judge tells Trump, unfreeze the funds. Trump doesn't unfreeze the funds. A judge calls him out and says, hey, you're defying our court order. We told you to unfreeze these funds. Trump goes, oh, did I do that? Like, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Like, I just interpreted your order differently. We know that's not true. He ignored the court order. And he backed down a little bit when he got called out. He was trying to be slick about it. What happens when the judge gives him a court order? He tries to be slick in defying it. The judge says, no room for interpretation. Here's what you need to do. And then Trump says, I'm actually just not going to do that. The judge says, okay, we're holding you in contempt of court. So every day going forward, we're going to charge you like X amount of dollars as a fine. Trump says, okay, who's going to enforce the fine on me? No one, because I run the executive branch. So he doesn't pay the fine. Then the next step of contempt of court is the judge says, okay, we're now holding you in criminal contempt. The U.S. Marshals need to arrest people. The U.S. Marshals under the DOJ. Pam Bondi says, if you move to arrest the president or anyone in his cabinet, you are fired. Okay, so then no one's going to enforce the contempt of court. So then there's no more backstop there. Like once the U.S. Marshals can't arrest someone, the executive branch has all the power, the courts have no more power, and then let's say this goes up to the Supreme Court. Okay, there's two options with the Supreme Court in this scenario. One option is that the court says, this is unconstitutional, we're ruling against you, Trump. And then Trump says, I still don't care, I'm defying the court. The other, maybe even scarier option, is that as the court is deliberating, Trump sends them a message to say, if you guys rule against me, I will defy your order. And that delegitimizes you as an institution. So if you want to maintain your legitimacy, even if you think I'm wrong, rule in favor of me. That's also horrible. In either of these scenarios, our Constitution is dead. Just so we're clear. There is no more American experiment. That's finished. Let's say we get to this point, and then, God forbid, there is some kind of terror attack on the US. And then Trump says, well, the left has spent so long calling me a threat, so obviously they're the reason this happened. The Marxists have been weakening our national defense. They've been doing this to us. They ruined it with DEI, and the enemy from within, they made this happen. So if you protest me now, as I try to impose martial law, then you are pro-terrorist. If you say that I'm an authoritarian, you don't want me to defend the country. I'm just trying to save the country. So obviously the military needs to be out and about because who else is going to protect us? And then we're like 3 years into the presidency, and it's like, what is this country anymore? And then, okay, sure, there's a faction of the military that says, no, we swore an oath to the Constitution, not to Trump. There are no kings. We have to depose him. There's another faction of the military that says, no, we're going to defend Trump. How does that end? And then blue states like, okay, we're not going to go along with the federal government. Red states like, okay, then we're going to fight you guys. And then where does it stop? Where's the backstop there? Where's the end game? Now, I want people to tell me, how outlandish is that scenario? Is it the most likely scenario? I don't think so, maybe not, but is it that unlikely? It's at the least, what, like 15, 20%? One out of 5, 1 out of 10? Would you take those odds on anything? If someone gave you 1 out of 10 chance that you press this button and you die, would you press that button? No. What if the button says you press this button and Western civilization collapses? That's the button the American voters pushed, apparently, a few months ago. But the fact that I can lay out this, like, post-apocalyptic scenario that sounds like the plot of a movie, and it's not that outlandish, should be cause for concern, because you guys understand, Trump is genius, because you know what he does? In MAGA's mind, the deep state is checks and balances. What a perfectly convenient narrative that the deep state and the enemy from within is just checks and balances. And then you set up this narrative where it's like, we're not trying to cut checks and balances. We're cutting the deep state. Why are you sending money to transgenders in Colombia or whatever? Like, obviously this is bad. It's like, no, you're framing these things as like crazy liberal projects. What's the underlying reality? Congress created USAID. They appropriate the funding. If you think these programs are silly, then tell Congress to either stop funding USAID, or when these contracts expire, you're the president, just tell USAID, hey, don't do the DEI thing again, and they'll listen to you. But canceling a contract we've already signed, canceling funding appropriated by Congress, is not how you fix waste, fraud, and abuse. It's how you get rid of checks and balances. So, you know, not to fearmonger too much, but I've been noticing a lack of fearmongering that I feel like needs to be combated. And I'm honest about it. Like, I am fearmongering because the thing is, like, when I fearmonger, I'm basing it in reality. Like, I think fearmongering is sometimes justified. And, like, I think if you're paying attention and you understand what's actually happening, you will be afraid. So if anyone isn't terrified right now, it's because they don't understand. That's what it is. So by fearmongering, you're educating people. Because, like, when someone hears Trump is violating civil service protections and congressional appropriations, that just sounds like it's not a big deal. It sounds like some, like, technocratic, like, oh, this is just some whatever, like, they're crunching the numbers, it's just some fucking legal bullshit. When you frame it that way, it's true, but people don't understand what you really mean. But when you say, Trump is like not taking no for an answer. Trump is doing what he wants to do even when it's illegal, and he's breaking the law to do it, and he's firing people to do it. Then people are like, oh, that sounds like bad. Both of those things are the same thing, but when you describe it in like this legal terminology, no one gives a fuck. So you do have to fearmonger. You should be anxious. You should be worried. You should be like freaking out a little bit if you're a normal person who understands what's going on right now. So, yeah. I'm gonna go get some food. Good live. Good talk.